Hello everyone, and welcome to another Dalian IT tutorial. Today we're going to step into the world of virtualization. We're going to use a program called Virtualbox to install a test server on our computer for testing purposes. We could be trying out new software, or just really studying more about virtualization, learning more about it so we can integrate it more into our daily work. Virtualization is a real hot button right now. Everybody's talking about virtualization, lots of types of virtualization. There's kernel virtualization, there's VMware, there's lots of different stuff. Today we're going to be using Virtualbox. I really like to use this Virtualbox for personal use. It's really easy to use, it's easy to set up, and no fuss, no muss. It does everything we need it to do. So today the virtual computer that we're going to set up will be Ubuntu Linux. Well, to set this up, first we're going to have to go to the Ubuntu Linux website and download an ISO so we can use that to install. We can use either an ISO or we can burn the ISO onto a disk. It doesn't really matter. So at ubuntu.com we're going to install a desktop version of Linux. So we're going to click on desktop here and download, and I'm going to download 1010, which is the latest version, Maverick Meerkat, and I'm going to go ahead and download the 32-bit version, which is recommended. So once we get that all downloaded, which I've already done, we can go ahead and install our virtual machine. So let's open up Oracle VM Virtualbox. Really awesome program. I love to use it just about every day. So we need to install a new operating system, our Linux operating system. So on the left here we have our list of operating systems with list of virtual computers that we've already made. As you notice here, I don't have a Linux computer, so we're going to create one. To do that, we're going to click New, and that will open up our virtual machine wizard, and it just is going to walk us through. And let's go ahead and do that. First step is we're going to name our new computer. I'm going to name my computer Ubuntu because that's basically the best and shortest description I can think of. And under that we have an OS type. If it hasn't gotten you set up automatically, we're going to choose operating system Linux and version Ubuntu. Before I continue, I should probably tell you that Virtualbox, the program, is available for both Linux and Windows. So if you're on a Windows XP or Windows 7 or whatever, don't worry about it. Virtualbox has ports to both operating systems, and they're really virtually identical. I use Virtualbox on my XP machine as well. So as we go through this tutorial, remember, if you're on a Windows machine, it doesn't matter, it's all the same. So now we have our name, we have the name of our computer, and we have our operating system type set in. Let's click Next. Now we're going to choose the base memory size for our virtual machine. Now your memory size is going to depend on what you're going to be using this virtual machine for. If you're going to be running a lot of heavy programs on it, video editors, whatever, you're going to want more RAM. But really, for most purposes, web servers or application servers, things like that, you can use a little bit less. The great thing about Ubuntu, or the great thing about Linux in general, is it runs really great on low resources. So for our purposes today, we're just going to use 512, and that will be enough for us. Actually, with some virtual machines, you might even be able to run on 256. I frequently run Red Hat Linux on 256. So next we've got to create our virtual hard disk. Sometimes you can download pre-configured hard disks with the operating system already installed, or like like me, I'm using OpenBravo ERP for some of my work, and that was something that was pre-installed, and I just downloaded that disk image. But today we're going to do a fresh install, so we're going to create a new hard disk. Let's continue. And next. So we have two storage types, a dynamically expanding storage and a fixed storage. A fixed storage is just that. You set it to how big you want it, and it's just going to stay at that. You want it 8 gigs, it's just going to stay 8 gigs. A really cool feature that VirtualBox has is dynamically expanding storage. So really, the virtual disk will start out very small. You may choose to create an 8 gig or a 10 gig or a 20 gig hard disk. But if you're only using 1 gig or 2 gigs of space, it's going to stay very small until you add more space. So I'm going to do that, dynamically expanding storage. So then we have our virtual disk location and size. The normal size, 8 gig, 10 gig, you can do 20 gig or whatever, depending on what you want to install. I'm just going to play around with this thing for a little bit today, so I'm just going to create let's do a 4 gig, because that's all I'm going to really need today. And finish. Okay, we're creating our hard disk there. So now we see we have an Ubuntu machine here in our list, but the operating system is not installed yet. We have to install that operating system. Let's go into our settings here for a little bit and see what kind of settings we have. In our general, we have basic, our name, the name of our computer, and the type of operating system. We have our snapshot folder, which we can create kind of like a backup thing. If we mess our virtual computer up, we can go back to a previous snapshot and it reverts all our stuff back to that snapshot. Our system, where we have our memory and the boot order of our stuff here. Processors, we can choose however many processors we want. We usually stick to one processor. One processor is good enough. Display, we can increase or decrease our memory. We can even do a remote display server, which is really cool. We can use an RDP, and we can control this machine remotely. We have our storage here. Audio, network, 0 ports, whatnot. So here with our storage, I'm going to create our CD drive. So this is our IDE controller. We have a CD drive. I need to plug in our ISO, our Linux ISO, into there so we can actually install this virtual machine. Without it, we're going to start this machine and nothing's going to happen because there's no operating system on it and there's no input. So I'm going to choose a virtual disk file. So I've already Okay, yeah, I've already downloaded this file previously, so I'm just going to access it here. It's in my downloads folder. It's going to be an Ubuntu 1010 desktop i386 ISO. So once I have that loaded in there, the virtual machine is going to start up. It's going to see that ISO image as kind of like a CD in the CD drive, and it's going to read off that, it's going to boot off that, and we can use that to start our install. Okay, one thing that I can't forget to mention is down on the network tab. Now this is how our virtual machine is going to connect to the internet, connect to the network. We have several different choices. We have to enable the network adapter, make sure that that's connected so we can connect to our network, connect to the internet. And attached to, right now we have the option NAT, Network Address Translation. Now what this is going to do is this is going to give your virtual machine the ability to get online, but the drawback is that it's going to be invisible to your network. So you can't access that computer from the internet, and you can't access it from your network. So we're going to switch this NAT to bridged adapter, and we'll name it WLAN 0. That's fine. The name doesn't really matter, but what matters is we have a bridged adapter. The bridged adapter will let the virtual machine go straight through our host operating system's NIC, and using the bridged adapter, we can connect through to our virtual machine via the internet, and we can connect to our virtual machine from our network, and that is very important for us for what we're going to do later on. So let's go ahead and start our virtual computer now.